slicer basics. Now, there are different types. This one here is a little 9-inch. This is a 12-inch. They have a lot of things in common, and not all of them have the same angle. This one below is a belt drive, and that's one of the reasons why the angle is what it is. You'll see some manufacturers almost have it straight up. Oftentimes there's a gear drive. If you come around, this piece is called a regulator plate. It's adjusted simply by turning a knob. See the gap opening up? I mean, it's not real difficult stuff, but it opens up and exposes the blade. Closes back up. You have little indexing numbers that you can turn to. If you're running a deli or something, you slice it to a particular size, such as a half or something like that. That is really, really thin. This piece is called the platform. This little arm comes up. That holds your meat down. You'll notice it has teeth in behind it. It also has teeth on the front face. And that can be used to push meat forward. It can also be used for long pieces to get, like sausages and hams, long pieces. It's able to actually use it to hold the meat. It's actually longer than the platform. And the platform is pretty good size. Now, all good slicers are going to have some way of sharpening the blades. This thing turns around, and you see we've got sharpening stones set up to cut at the fixed angles. And when we put it down like that, what it allows us to do is then we have with the motor running, we're able to mash these little buttons here and here, and we sharpen the blade as it runs. You don't need to sharpen it much, just enough to keep her sharp. That's it. And here's a 9-inch slicer. Works the same way. Turn the little knob, you open up the gap in the blade. Cuts about the same thickness. Got a platform. Works the same way. Has a meat holder. Arm falls down like this, slides up and down. It's got teeth on the bottom. Teeth in the front, but you see you don't have any means on this one to put a sharpener. But you do. It's just a little different. Now there's how we hook it with this particular one. This is kind of an unusual model, but you still have the ability to operate the stones to sharpen the blade. You just slide the platform in position the stones while it's running. Now you take a little edge off. That's all there is to it. To clean it, you do need to remove the platform, and all that takes is to take this little guy off here, this knob, and the mount, the whole platform base comes off, and there you're able to get to the underside here of the unit. Also, the units are made where you have this little knob here. You take this little rod out, take it out, and then this piece is able to come away. Now I've got to hold the camera with one hand, so I'm just going to let you use your imagination. You see how this comes off. Now there it is with the guard removed. The underside of the guard is just a simple piece of aluminum shaped like this. These little grooves in the plate, the regulator plate, and then the guard are made so that the meat and cheese and your sliced item actually slides over with a minimum amount of friction. It goes back together the same way. When you reassemble them, you want to add just a little bit of mineral oil, and you want to use an NSF approved mineral oil for this. You don't want to use 3-in-1 or something like that that's not safe for food contact. Tighten her down. Now your guard's back in place. Put your platform back on. Now both of these units are manual slicers. The piece here, the platform, just simply slides on the bar and against this square stock here. Now, the motor in this unit is fixed on this pivot rod, and this end is onto the cast housing. Has an adjustment. That's what keeps your tension on the belt. The big one is very, very similar. This little guy right here is a capacitor, and much like a condenser in your old automobile points ignition system, this device will actually hold a charge, and you get across those two contacts, it can knock the poop out of you. Switch. The bottom of the motor itself is ventilated to help it stay cool as possible. Now this unit in this condition is not a UL unit, because the bottom you have the ability to come in contact with the devices, electrical devices. So this particular device is not in the current UL readiness. Now up here, the regulator plate works by turning this little plastic can. You see that little piece move? It's got the little rubber looking piece on it. This little guy right here. That's what controls the regulator plate above it. The big one is built virtually identical, just larger scale. This is a pretty fair little slicer. It handles most things that I would need around the house. It's not particularly big. It's not too heavy. It doesn't take up too much room in the kitchen. The thing that this unit won't do for me is slice larger items. Look here. Like this piece of meat here. This is a whole New York strip, $66.87 for 13.4 pounds. That's $4.99 a pound. Now, that's not a great price. It's not a terrible price. But as you may see, that is, if I get the camera to focus, USDA Select. And if I have enough time on this video, I may say a little something about gradings of meat. Now, look, something here on the small one. You have, with the small diameter blade, you have a very short distance here, and when you slice, your product comes on this side and of course has to fall down. So that's a constraint with small one. The other issue is the platform. It's just not very large. Now, according to the United States Department of Agriculture, there are 8 grades of USDA beef: prime, choice, select, standard, commercial, utility, cutter, and canner. The USDA prime, choice, select, and standard are the cuts that come from younger animals. The highest grade prime is used primarily by hotels and restaurants, but a small amount is used at retail markets and you can buy it as such. The most common grade is USDA choice. The standard commercial grade beefs are frequently sold as ungraded brand name meat, and the 3 lower grades, utility, cutter, and canner, are seldom if ever sold in stores, but are instead used to make hamburger and ground beef and frankfurters and ground meat products. More information on this can be found at the United States Department of Agriculture. Now, you can trim the fat from the steak some. You want to leave some on it so that it can drip down in the smoke and give it that flavor. But if you'll look at this select graded New York strip, you see it actually looks pretty darn good. Got quite a bit of decent marbling in there. I think we did okay for this particular grade. It looks select, I guess. And what also then you want to save your fat if you happen to be a sausage maker and a deer hunter, because it can be used ground up in with your deer. Okay, there we go. We've got 12 packages. I tested one of them on a scale, and it's about 1 pound, a little more, a little less. And a little bag of trimmings that we'll use when we do deer this coming season. And we have the squarings and 1 spare piece of steak we'll do something with tonight.